barbecue dinners, sandwiches, and even desserts. They will also cater your party. Everything is barbecued fresh using real oak for that great smoky flavor. So visit my friend Corey at the Rib Shack Barbecue in downtown Largo, West Bay Drive, or call them for a takeout order at 727-501-9090. That's 727-501-9090. They truly have the best smoking barbecue in town. Oh, and be sure and check out their great barbecue sauce. That's the Rib Shack Barbecue in downtown Largo, 727-501-9090. I'm telling Robert from Nostalgic Radio and Cars sent you. You may be owed some money. After 911 and 411, call 541. That's 727-541-1741. Call Gulfstream Motorsports for a diminished value report. Due to my 28 years experience in the auto salvage business, I'm very good with wrecks. So if your car's been involved in a wreck, call me for a diminished value report. Call 727-541-1741. You may be owed some money for the lost value of your repaired vehicle. And visit us at GulfstreamMotorsports.com.
Come up with the rent by the end of the week, he's out of here.
You wake me up for that? Come on!
Dewey Finn would have sold his soul for rock and roll, but nobody was buying.
You're an embarrassment.
You're out. Maybe it's time to give up those dreams.
Don't you miss rocking out? You're not a teacher, Ned. You're the cross-dressing incubus from Maggot Death.
Dewey, I'm not a satanic sex god anymore. I'm a sub, and soon I'll be a certified teacher.
Is this Mr. Schneebly?
I'm the principal here at Horace Green Prep, and we need somebody to start immediately.
So how much are we talking here?
$6.50 a week.
Hello, this is Ned Schneebly.
Everyone, I'd like to introduce Miss Dunham's substitute. This is Mr. Schneebly.
All right, look, I've got a hangover. Who knows what that means?
Doesn't that mean you're drunk?
No. It means I was drunk yesterday.
Now, at the most prestigious prep school in the country.
Yes, Tinkerbell.
That poster charts everyone's performance.
Where the students are rewarded for following the rules.
What kind of a sick school is this?
He's going to teach them a lesson.
There will be no gold stars or demerits.
That will rock their world.
It's called Rock Band.
Is this a school project?
It will go on your permanent record. Hello, Harvard, yo. You, what's your name?
Zach.
You ever play electric guitar?
My dad won't let me.
Zach, do not walk away from me when I'm talking to you.
What makes you mad more than anything in the world?
No allowance. Chores. Bullies.
All you bullies get out of my way, cause I am ready to go!
Mr. Schneebly, just wanted to say, that was a really cool lesson today.
Oh, thanks, dude.
All they wanted was an education.
They're gonna laugh at me.
You have an incredible singing voice. People are gonna dig you, I swear.
Okay.
What they got
Clear.
was a revolution.
I've just been informed that all of your children are missing.
And if you wanna be a teacher,
Jack Black, the School of Rock.
it will test your head and your mind and your brain.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Button up my sleeve. Presto! No doubt about it. I gotta get another hat.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Hey, the Red Rocker Sammy Hagar here, and you are listening to Nostalgic Radio and Cars. Woo! Good God! Woo!
Okay, listeners, welcome. You're tuning into Nostalgic Radio and Cars, and I'm your show host, Robert. Run your computers and Google TanTalk1340.com, and you can see us live here in the studios in downtown Clearwater. Don't forget to check out our website, GulfstreamMotorsports.com, where you can find out all about us. And tune into Nostalgic Radio and Cars.com, and you can tune into all 528 shows. They're all uploaded, ladies and gentlemen. Boys and girls, sports fans, race car fans. I actually did now. Hey, we got a full house tonight. I got my good buddy Alan sitting in here with me.
Hello.
And we have the Only in America Minute. And Only in America show host.
We
Bill
shanghaied
Cochran.
him.
We shanghaied him. Yeah, we actually did. I mean, literally, he was ready to walk out the door, and we said, we will steal his pillow away from him if he
Well,
doesn't come to
Javier
our
may-
show.
I got my pillow,
Yeah.
We'll hovy him into here. Yeah.
Well, now here's what's interesting. Okay, so this is Rocktober, and it's the beginning of what we were going to do with some musical guests and stuff like that. But hey, guess what? Change of plans. We have automotive guests. Now, what I did not know is I mean, you're actually going to listen to some stories about what we used to do here in Clearwater as car guys back in the days when I had a junkyard and Alan had a repair shop, and Bill actually was in the automobile business. And but he was telling us a story a little earlier, that because he grew up in upstate New York. Bill, tell us the story about the Ford dealerships and what was on the showroom floor there.
Oh, when I was Millbrook, New York is right outside of Poughkeepsie, where very wealthy people lived there. And Getty had a Carter Getty, who's part of the Getty family.
Getty Oil, it is correct.
There was a car dealership named Medall Ford, been there for years. It was on a corner downtown, Millbrook, small town, kind of like a Disney Main Street, Main Street town, and but he had a showroom full of Shelbys, Cobras, the Cobras,
AC Cobras, the little funny little foreign cars
with the little roll bar. And I went to high school there, and he had a blue one, a red one, and Penske, would race over in Lime Rock, Connecticut. It wasn't very far, but it was called Getty Ford, and I don't know if he was a collector, Carter, but he was friends with Carroll Shelby, and he would fly in sometimes from wherever he lived, California, and he'd see him. But when I went to high school, my friend had a Mustang, 66 Mustang, 289, Louis, and then after school he would go down there and go to the parts department and get parts at the Ford deal, and sometimes we'd walk into the showroom and you'd see these Shelbys there and the Cobra Mustangs around the back, and they'd have them in where they would bring them out in November or whenever the new cars came out, the 64,
September,
the 70s. I graduated. This was in mid 60s, like 65, 66, but. It was interesting because, you didn't think much about it. You looked at these cars, and today they're like, who knows, $100,000 cars plus, right?
Well, the Cobras are over $1 million now.
Yeah, small block's $1 million, and the big block is more.
I don't know what they cost back then, but
$6,000.
6,000.
Yeah, except the Mustang was what, $4,800 for a Shelby or $5,000, something like that. They were under $5,000.
I don't know. I wasn't buying cars then.
Yeah, me neither.
But it was only
the
showroom only had room for like 3 cars, 3 or 4 cars. And he could get 4 of these Shelbys in the showroom, or 5, because they were small. I'm talking about the small.
Yeah,
cars.
the AC Cobras, the actual.
And it was but they had a very wealthy clientele that lived there. We were 80 miles north of New York City, and a lot of the New Yorkers had farms up there, summer homes or estates, and they would commute down to the city. But they would buy these cars from him. And but he was very close to Carroll Shelby, Carter Getty, I can remember. And, it's quite a history's like that, with all these things we could have had. My father had a small airport that he built, and Penske brought his Learjet into it one time.
His Learjet?
And it was only like a 3,800-foot runway. It wasn't real long, but he was supposed to go to the county airport, which has a lot longer runway, and he came to our airport because he thought it was closer to Lime Rock, Connecticut. And it was in 1966, and he was just getting started in racing, and he flew in with another guy from California and parked it there. And I can remember that the next day when he took off out of the airport, he all the farmers called because the chickens wouldn't lay the eggs, and they were mad at my father because he said, we didn't think you were going to have jets there, and his desire was not to have jets. We sold Cessna airplanes, and we was a Cessna dealer. But Penske, he never came in again. But it was kind of funny to watch him take off, And it's history, history. But back then, a Learjet was, I don't know.
How much was Learjet back then?
They listed it like about $450 or something like that. But the Learjet had the GE turbojet engines, so they were real noisy.
Yeah, this was the Lear 21 series.
No, it was 23 was the first one. Then they came out with 24. They had the 24D.
23, but it was a 23. I thought it was a 21, but
No.
we had Cessna dealership. We sell 150,
Yeah.
172s,
Right.
and we had a flight school. And my father took a farm and converted it into and it's still there today. It was built by him because he was a contractor. But the thing about the Cessnas, the 150 or the 172, you could buy a brand new Cessna 150 for about $7,000.
Good luck nowadays.
And at 172 was like 12 or 13, and now they're 300,000-400,000.
Right.
You know?
Jeez.
Yeah. So
Yeah, the Learjet, actually, when they came out, they could outfly a F-100 fighter to 10,000 feet. And Clay Lacy was one of William Lear's good buddies. And he had a 23 converted to a 24, so it was a hot rod. He did stunts with it and everything. And he flew F-86 in Korea, and he said the Learjet could outfly the F-86 to 40,000 feet.
wow.
Yeah.
I rode in one once, a Lear.
Oh, yeah.
Did you really?
Over here at St. Pete, Clearwater. When I was in college in '71,
Yeah.
I worked at the airport. I pumped gas, in the planes and the small jets and stuff. And Alex Matway, he owned a paint shop there, and he had just come out. They had just come out with that Enron paint.
Yeah.
Enron. It was in like 1971, and he painted this Learjet. It was blue and white, and his son worked with me on the line. David Matway, he was younger than me, a couple of years, and he said to me one day, my father wants to take the plane up and see if it flies faster because of this paint. Because the paint they put in, that's why
Emerald. That's what it was.
Emerald. It was
Emerald.
Emerald, and he just painted it. And I can remember he had the mask on. Speaking of masks, he had the paint mask on. The father, Alex, and he came out a very meticulous painter. And I can remember the plane 111LJ. That was the number on the plane.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know if he knew how to fly the plane. His father, He
Really?
says, "Get in." So I got in the back with David. Got up front with his father, and he took off, and he went straight up. We went up and down the beach. He came back and landed. And it was
No kidding.
Yeah. And about 2 weeks later, Karen Carpenter flew in.
Yeah.
And she was playing down at Bayfront. She was singing, and she flew in the Learjet. And I said to her, I got to say to her, I was just up in one of those planes. She looked at, I was a line boy, She looks at me, go, big deal, She thought I was kidding, but I was serious. So.
Well, the Lear 23 also, it was like, before you loaded it up, it was like 6,100 pounds.
Yeah.
It had 5,800 pounds of thrust. So you load it lightly, throw a couple of people on it, and go play with the F-16s from MacDill.
It was an amazing plane. It was an amazing.
And the 23 had exposed rivets. The 24, they made the rivets flush, which made a difference too.
But Lear was quite a guy too. He
was.
I mean, Bill Lear was this guy invented the radio, didn't he?
Right. Yeah, the Motorola. Yeah.
He had the Lear.
Yeah.
Lear was he was a genius. The guy.
The 8-track too, right?
Oh, he was involved with that. Yeah, but you got to in the early Learjet. You don't have any room anyway, but they made sure they put an 8-track player in it.
They were,
I've seen
they
pictures
were small.
of that.
Yeah. I can remember going on it, and it was so it climbed like.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the thing was
they're hot rods.
Yeah.
And
it was kind of noisy, but it was
kind of noisy.
People say it's a small. Didn't you say somebody said it's a real small fuselage?
Yeah, you can't walk upright.
Yeah.
You can't walk upright. You got to.
So you couldn't stand upright in it?
No.
It was like a fighter plane.
Yeah, Bill Lear basically said you can't stand up in a Buick.
No.
But yeah, it was actually patterned after a fighter plane from Switzerland.
Yeah, out of Switzerland. And it was an amazing time because when I worked 71, 72, I got to meet all the politicians because they were running at 72 presidential nomination. Humphrey came in, Scoop Jackson, all these different politicians, Democrats.
Up here at the airport?
Yeah, at St. Pete, Clearwater. They'd come in and then they'd leave. George Wallace, I met him, and we'd put the food in their planes, when they'd leave because they'd be in these small planes. And then they'd go down to wherever they'd have their convention or debates. And, you got to learn politics, Scoop Jackson was from Minnesota. He was one of the most powerful senators in the country at the time. He was running for president. Mm-hmm. And he came down, and I met him. I was getting their autographs. I collected autographs, and And I asked him for his autograph, and he wouldn't give me his autograph because he lost like a quarter in the candy machine. And he said, "I'm not. You got the key to that candy machine?" It was on a Sunday. I didn't have the key, but he wanted me to give him a quarter. I didn't have a quarter, so he wouldn't give me this rotten autograph, and then he left. But George Wallace, he was like he was a beautiful guy. George Wallace gave us a $10 tip.
Wow.
So you got to meet politicians up front and really see how they are.
Now, this is the Clearwater St. Pete Airport.
St. Aircraft, right there, Clearwater St. Pete.
PIE.
When I first moved here in the early 70s, I think you're right about the election and everything like that, because Richard Nixon flew in, and he was president at the time. And they blocked off US 19 because we actually parked on the side of US 19 and watched the motorcade go down to the Bayfront Center. I think that's where he was giving his speech.
Yeah, I didn't meet Nixon. This was the Democratic side.
Oh,
and then Wallace. I don't know if he was running Republican. Maybe I never met Nixon. I did meet Ronald Reagan there years later. I got his autograph.
Well, he actually came to Clearwater Mall, believe it or not. He would actually give a speech there at Clearwater Mall.
Nixon.
1976. Because I was there at that one. I saw him.
I believe it.
Yeah. that was Reagan. That was Reagan. Yeah, you're right. Right. Damn, losing track of time here.
I met Reagan at the airport in 82, I think, or 80. And my father was with me. He took a picture of me shaking Reagan's hand, because we knew the manager of the airport out there. I wasn't working there then, but we knew that my father knew the manager, and he got us out on the ramp. And Reagan came. He had United Airlines flying him around the country, and he was governor at the time, running for president. And he ran. He came over to me, and I asked him, "Could I have your autograph?" And he went in his pocket and he reached out. He had a business card. It said Governor Ronald Reagan with his signature.
Wow.
And handed it to me. And then my father snapped the picture. And then the Secret Service saw us. We didn't have any tags on. They said, "How'd you get out?" And they grabbed us and took us behind the fence.
You had ramp access. There you go.
But it's a different age today. I like politics, but trouble today is it's so, I don't know, people.
Well, while you're sitting here, why don't you go ahead, since you talk about politics real quick before we change the subject. Go ahead and plug your radio show real quick.
Oh, well, I'm on right before you. I was on Bobby. His son helps. Your son helps me with my show, and Tommy. And I just do a radio show Tuesdays and Fridays, 6 o'clock for an hour. And I just like Donald Trump. I support Donald Trump.
We all do.
And the way I got Mike Lindell's sponsorship, with the pillow. I tweeted my minute. Remember, I did the minutes. I'm doing the minutes again, but I tweeted it on Twitter one time. Yeah. And Lindell was new to Twitter at the time, Mike Lindell. This was like 3 years ago, and he liked it. So then I emailed him and I said I'd like. And you know who I had on the same? I tweeted Jay Leno and Mike Lindell on the same thing. So he probably figured, hey, this guy's tweeting, and he didn't have that many followers at the time. So then I called them and I said, I went up to the factory in Minnesota, and I went in there, walked. They gave me a tour of the factory, and I saw his office and saw the beautiful, huge place. I mean, you should see the factory outside of Minneapolis. So I said to the same girl that talks to Hannity and talks to all these because he's on Fox, Tucker. She says, "What promo code name do you want?" And I said, "Well, I don't know. What should I put?" She said, "What's your name?" I said, "Bill." So she gave promo Bill.
Oh, super.
So I got Bill, but it's a national, national. I mean, it's a great deal that they give people.
Go ahead and plug the pillow real quick. You don't have one here.
I don't have one. Promo code Bill, just mypillow.com.
Yeah, MyPillow. Bobby's coming in with a pillow right now. Bobby's coming in to say
Bobby sleeps on one, I think.
Yeah, now I have one now too. I got to tell you, I like one. Yeah. Alan, you need a pillow.
Alan, you help me get my air working, and I'll give you a pillow. Here.
Okay.
Make sure you throw in the dryer. Throw in the dryer.
Okay.
80,000 a day.
Oh yeah.
At that factory.
Yeah, everyone there's no surplus, right?
No, and I went through the factory, and the guy that showed me the factory got 1,500 people working there, and the guy that was the tour guide had a big long beard, and he looked like so unassuming, and he shows me all around, and he takes me through the thing, and he says, and I said to him, well, how long have you been working here? A couple of years. I said, well, how'd you ever start working here? He said, well, I came to work for Mike, and I moved here from Oklahoma, and he said, and Mike wanted to, make more pillows. So he said, well, can you help me? The guy designed the whole shop, the whole place.
Oh, no kidding.
Huge. Wow. This guy, Larry was his name, and he's the designer of that factory, and they use one of these old machines from a grinder that grinds up these little things, and they still use it. And he's got it in the showroom, the first one to grind these things. And the thing about the pillow is when you go like this with it, you clean it, you wash it, but put it in the dryer, and it fluffs up. It'll fluff up, and they interlocked. Okay. It's amazing. Amazing. I don't know. I got pillows, but I like the MyPillow. A lot of people, love them. I mean, so.
Well, I will tell you it's a good pillow. I can tell you that. Bobby will tell you it's a good pillow. Teresa will tell you it's a good pillow.
Tommy's got one.
Yeah, I go to the
Tommy's got a pillow. You like your pillow, Tommy?
No, I don't like it at all.
Tommy's mother's got one.
Oh, Tommy's mother's got one.
Got the body pillow, man.
Oh, you don't like
he
the
snuggles up with that body pillow.
So, but he's interested. I know he knows a lot of people I know from Dunedin.
Well, now let's talk about that a little bit. You guys were talking. I heard the name Westfall a few minutes ago. So
Dick Westfall.
Why don't you guys talk a little about, because Westfall's actually had a salvage yard back in the 70s. Do you remember him, Tommy?
Betty Lane and Overbrook.
Yeah, Betty Lane and Overbrook. There was a salvage yard up there. There was actually two. There was Westfall's on one side.
Doc and Bill.
Doc and Bill was on the other side. But it was really kind of an unofficial junkyard because he was more of a racer guy, but he had more of a junkyard thingy. But Westfall's was a bona fide yard, and he was actually one of my competitors because it was just us, West Coast Auto Salvage, and Westfall back in the day. And
Bose. Don Beaudry.
Bose, the problem with Bose was Bose was here, Bose was there, Bose was everywhere. He just moved around.
He was at Arcturus and Sherwood Street, and he took over the city property. He must have had 300 cars.
I know.
He just sort of homesteaded it.
Yeah, he was a junkyard squatter.
Do you remember? What was the guy up in Tarpon that had
Hobbs?
No, not Hobbs. The other guy.
Mears?
No, before the guy with the wreckers. What was his name? Right by the hospital.
Behind the Edifice Rex.
Days?
Oh,
Edifice Rex.
Now behind the hospital.
Oh yeah.
You'll know who I can't think of. He had a bunch of tow trucks too. But he had a junkyard back there. I can remember there were so many junkyards. Every place you'd go, you'd see a junkyard.
Almost half the used car dealership. Junkyard.
At Hobbs Junkyard underneath a carport, he had a '69 GT500 with tri-power on it.
Where?
It was orange up at Hobbs.
Shelby?
Yeah. No, it's a GT500.
That's a Shelby.
Okay, there you go. And then he had a 71 Judge convertible.
No way.
Yeah, it sat at the corner. Alderman and alternate 19 for a while. Then it ended up there. Then he had like a 58 Corvette sitting there. Then he died like 10 years ago or so, maybe a little bit more. So who knows what about the cars.
Was quite a character.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I rented his yard, when I got in the hauling business.
Yeah.
And I had dump trailers, and I was very busy, so I needed a place to dump. And I asked Hobbs, I said, can I rent the back part of your
yard
shop, your yard? So he said, yeah, you could, he had the hat, the cowboy hat, and he was very unassuming, you can rent that from me for $1,000 a month. So I figured that's not bad. So I had a big job at Innisbrook when they were redoing all the convention centers. That Johnson bought it, and I was working for Nelson Construction, and I had 7 or 8 trailers in there at a time. So we were hauling. My daughter was running one truck, and it was only like 10 minutes to Hobbs. I said, we'll dump it at Hobbs, and then we'll crush it and take it up to the landfill up in Hudson, up to Gulf Coast. So I did, and then Hobbs started thinking, boy, this guy looks like he's making money, It was month to month. So one day, then he comes to me and says, Bill, I think I want $2,000 a month.
Oh, man.
So he raised it to $2,000, and I still paid him $2,000 for another month or two, but then I eventually pulled out of there. But we didn't have a permit. We were outside. And
so basically, what are you doing? You're just taking concrete?
I had a big Komatsu.
Yeah.
That was all construction debris.
Okay.
Like they were remodeling all these convention centers in Innisbrook.
Yeah.
There was like 4 of them, the Copperhead and all those.
Right.
And they built a spa, and we got to haul all the trash out of there, my dump trailers. But it was so close to, and I figured I'd save money. But in the long run, it didn't make any difference. It was just you save a lot of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's the way business is, and I think that's what. What's wrong with the country today? There's so much waste, There's so much waste.
Well, another junkyard too, Auto Parts Corral.
Yeah. Auto Parts
that
Corral,
was Bill and Bill Jr.
Yeah.
And one day, me and a friend of mine, we're not making very good judgment. It was a Sunday. Hey, let's go tour the junkyard. So we're walking around the junkyard. Here a truck pull up, right? And the guy comes with a gun. And so my friend knew the guy, Bill Jr. He said, what do you got? We're looking at, we have no tools. We're just touring, doing sightseeing. It was a cool junkyard. He had like a 57 Eldorado with the Sabre wheels on it, sinking into the dirt, you know, just all these neat cars. Because he started out as a repair shop initially. If you look at the old Dunedin Times.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit more about, let's go back to West Falls here and the big fire. Okay.
Well, the fire was downtown Dunedin where Pioneer Park is.
Yeah.
Pioneer Park is on the corner of Highland and Main Street. And they put a park there. And Dick Hovey and his brother Leon, Hovey Brothers, they were a Packard dealer and they were a Mack dealership. They had that down here by Dimmitt. Remember, Dimmitt used to be down here.
Downtown.
Downtown on the and by Chick Smith Ford.
Actually, Kennedy Strickland.
Kennedy Strickland.
Yeah, that's
Hovey had the Packard dealership. And then he moved up to Dunedin, and he built a shop. And he lived on Scotland. Him and his brother, they lived on Scotland. You know, and they were very. Dick was probably one of the best mechanics around anywhere. And when we met him, he was in his 70s, you know, and he really took a liking to my brother. My brother's 3 years older than me. And he would take Cliff off on these car trips. He had a coal car. You never heard of a coal car? Yeah. And they drove to Jacksonville, like with Bob Weisskopf was up in. I don't know if you remember Bob.
The name's familiar.
Weisskopf had a bunch of cars up in Tarpon, and there was this show they used to show them down by the park. Remember down by in Dunedin?
Yeah,
I mean in the park downtown there in
Tarpon Springs.
Yeah, Tarpon, right on the where they drive the cross, right on the bayou.
Yeah,
and that's where he would. But getting back to Hovey, his place burned. When we got our gas station, his place had just burned. A couple of years before that, in '75, his place burned. I think in '70, and they say that the place.
I thought it was later than that. I moved here in '72, and the building was still there.
Or maybe it was '72.
And some old guy was.
You talking about West Falls now?
No, Hovey.
Hovey.
Hovey Brothers.
Because some old guy
was on Betty Lane. This was downtown. Dunedin, but he had these cars in there. I mean, he had a Mack pickup.
He had a Kissel.
He had a Kissel.
Yeah.
He also had cars in his house. He had a 6-car garage.
They also had a Corvair, believe it or not. What a mix, right?
And they all burned up because the fire chief, and him, the fire chief didn't like Hovey for some reason. You know, they kind of. So Hovey wanted to open the door. And the fire chief said, "You can't open the door. You got," and he had to watch his cars burn. And when he'd tell you the story, you could tell it really broke his heart. You know, for those cars to burn. But you know, he ended up, you know, living a pretty good life. But he was a mechanic, and they had quite a business going there.
Well, the funny thing too, he would go to Ormond Beach. And they'd do a caravan with like the Dexters and some other people.
That was what Bob Weisskopf was in charge of. Yeah. My brother went on that
and
once.
they would go to Sebring too. Yeah. And they'd run the old cars on the track. These are cars from the 30s on the track, you know.
Yeah, it was amazing. Yeah. You don't see that today. Probably still do it, but not like back then. You know, and then Bud Josie. I don't know if you remember. Horseless Carriage.
Yeah, his daughter's Dunedin High when I was there. Yeah,
his son John Josie was. You know, I met him, Bud Josie, when because he knew Hovey, and he was trying to get some of Hovey's cars. And he was making cars for the Saudis. He was stretching Lincolns, I think they were, and turning them into limousines for Saudi Arabia. And I can remember in that back shop he had up on 580.
Yeah, across the street from where Chief Charlie's.
Yeah, where FedEx is now. But in the back, he had like 7 or 8 cars he was redoing, you know, modifying them. And he said they're all going to Saudi Arabia for the prince over there, the sheiks, you know.
He used to have those auctions up there. Remember that?
Right across the street.
Right across the street in the field.
Yeah.
He was quite an
I was there one time. He had a 33 Aston Martin. I remember that. And they had some Hitler car, of course.
The Hitler car. Oh, yeah.
Remember when his place burned?
Yes.
It burned down, too. And they saw a guy with red hair running out the back with a gas can. They thought his son had red hair.
Yeah.
Oh.
But you know, it never proved it. His son was out of town.
Bud Josie built a race car, believe it or not, that was really successful down at Sunshine.
Yeah.
They call it the Doodle Bug. Tunerville Trolley, they call it.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever heard of that one or not. Yeah, they built it, and they had some hot shoe driving it, and it was winning like crazy.
Yeah.
Interesting.
A whole ton, as they say.
The first time I met Bud Josie, somebody said go in there and check the place out because he had old cars. So I go roll in there. I got my '57 Bird and long hair, t-shirt, shorts, and all that kind of a grubby kid.
So you're a grubby guy.
Yeah, I'm a grubby guy. Hadn't changed much. But anyway, so I walked in there, and the deal is back in those days, you know, you just we built models. So because we built models, we collected die-cast cars, and you read magazines like I read Road
I'm
Drive.
sure you still got your models too,
I
right?
actually
Yeah.
looked at the pictures, Alan, for you. Okay, you know,
Okay.
you read, I looked at pictures. Anyway,
Okay.
so when I wandered in there,
I'm sorry, I got to call you back.
he had these vintage cars in his front showroom there.
Yeah.
And so I walked in there and I was just asking if they had some old stuff because in the back, like you talked about, he had these rows and rows. He had rental garages in the back, so people would store cars. That's what caught on fire.
Right.
That's what burned.
Right.
And there was a lot of really, really cool old
cars,
stuff.
yeah.
Well, the gates would be open every once in a while, so I would drive through there. And that's what I was doing that day. I was cruising through there. I didn't really have an interest in the restoration facility. I just wanted to see the cool cars in the back because I was looking for Shelbys and Cobras and stuff like that back in the day, and Porsches and Healey's and stuff. Anyway, so the guy says, well, you might want to go talk to the guys up front. You're not supposed to be back here because this is, you know, for people that are tenants. And I go, all right, what if...
Scum-sucking, pencil-neck geek.
Anyway, so, we have an open show tonight, guys. So just in case if you want to call and put your 2 cents in, the phone lines are, well, we might let them open. I don't know. 727-441-3000. How about that?
Got your 2 cents in. Robert's got change. Yeah.
I gotta hit the road, but anyway.
Okay.
No, wait a minute. All right, so let's talk about West Falls when his fire took place because you knew about that one too, right?
No, I don't remember West Falls fire.
Well, West Falls had the fire on Betty Lane Junkyard. You remember
I remember
that?
the junkyard, but I don't remember the fire. I remember Dick Westfall.
Well,
Did he have it? But I don't remember.
Yeah, he had. He used to collect Oldsmobile 442s.
Yeah,
and he had something like 5 or 6 442. James, if you're listening, James used to work for him back in those days.
Yeah,
and Richie
James knew
was his
everything,
kid.
yeah.
Richie was a couple of years younger than us. And so apparently, as the story goes, he had a ton of tires laying around. Somehow the tire pile caught on fire. And when the tire pile caught on fire, it expanded around the corner to that. And you know, this is the thing that kills me: is if you got money, build yourself a facility. But Dick, even though he had money, he just kept them in that, and it literally was a lean-to building that was clad with tin.
I remember that one. I remember it.
Okay. So he had all these very, very valuable cars in there, including the majority of them because he loved 442. You talked about when you walked in the yard, and I remember that you walked in this building right off to the right. He had a 427 dual quad motor sitting right there that he jerked out of a Galaxy or some crap.
Right, yeah.
And
he
for years,
he wanted like $600 for it. There was a lot of money back then.
Yeah.
Whatever it was a lot of money back then, and I tried for years to get that thing away from him, and I don't know whatever happened to it. But then he had all those little rental garages in the front, you know, where Dave was there with his body shop and a couple other guys, the VW guy and everything like that. So it was just kind of like just run down there. But when that tire pile went up in smoke, it took out. And apparently it took a day and a half to get that fire out of there. And Dick Westfall is the same thing. He ran over there, tried to get in the building. Fire department wouldn't let him go in there because it said, nope, it's dangerous. It's going to blow. We're not going in there. So and they just basically surrounded the property and poof, up in smoke. Everything was gone.
Wow.
And there was nothing left.
Well,
so
that's
that was
what happened to Hobbs. They had a big fire up there with tires started burning. Hobbs junkyard, I can remember. I don't know how it started, but the fire department, they were gonna shut him down trying, but they couldn't. He was too smart at Hobbs. You know, he owned about, I don't know, 100 houses, rentals. Maybe 75 to 100 houses.
Oh, really?
Small houses in Holiday. And he built houses. That's how he came to Florida. He started building. He was a mason, concrete, and he built houses up in Forest Hills and all up through there.
Mm-hmm.
And he built hundreds of houses. I mean, the guy. But Hobbs was quite a guy.
Well, the weird thing is he used to come up with some weird stuff. And some guys in my British car club a long time ago, and I remember seeing this. This was in the 80s. I walked into his yard one time because I used to go hit him and Mears and everybody at Days or whoever was up there and a couple other yards and, you know, no man's land up there. Because, you know, most car lots always had 20, 30 cars laying in the back.
McDivitt up in Newport or Port Richey. Remember him?
No, I don't remember all the names.
It was supposed to be a car lot, but it was really a junkyard.
It's really a junkyard. Yeah. But he literally had a World War II, and I'm not sure if it was a B-52, a 429, or whatever it was. Literally on the ground was a gun turret.
That'd be probably B-17.
It was a gun turret. Well, what happened was I didn't think anything of it. I thought, well, that's kind of odd. But the point was that, for some strange reason in some yards, just stuff shows up. Who knows where that came from, right?
Yeah.
Surplus, whatever. Because in Orlando, and then somewhere in the center of the state, and then on the East Coast of the state, there was basically like the military surplus stuff. People would buy stuff. And then as the way it worked back in those days, you would buy a lot. You buy what they typically did is they mixed some good stuff with some junk just to get rid of the junk.
Right.
And you had to buy the whole lot to get whatever.
Give the junk to someone else so they don't have to
Exactly.
deal with it. Yeah.
Remember were you around? Do you remember, what was the guy's name that did the trolley?
Mark Doyne.
Mark Doyne. Do you remember Mark Doyne?
Yeah, he built a convertibles.
The Clearwater trolley, Jolly
did
trolleys, but he
convertibles
also did some convertible
back in like
conversion.
mid-'70s. He did convertibles.
Yeah. He did it with a guy by the name of Don, who's back up in Orlando, in Ocala. But they had a place over there off Calumet down there.
Yeah,
and then
I worked for him for a while.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah.
And then he had the other place down there on Dunedin off Douglas.
Yeah, with
There
the
was a place down-
GTO that came from.
The Ferrari GTO that magically kind of
without the starter for some reason.
Yeah.
Joe Wiedemann. Joe Wiedemann was the guy's name up in Tarpon. That.
Wiedemann's, yeah.
Bar. His wife ran a tow truck, and when we'd go out and pick up wrecks for the state police, and we got out the state police, and it was all fixed. Days had the. My brother said, we got to get on the police rotation. We were on Dunedin rotation. We had AAA, so we had the business.
Where was your gas station at?
It was right on Main Street.
Yeah, right next to
Power, Skinner.
Where Power's Oldsmobile
There's a
used to be.
restaurant there now, Clear Sky.
Yeah.
Clear Sky's there now, but that was Dunedin, and it was
Marcy Kelly Olds. That's it. Yeah.
What's his name? Powers Olds was right behind us.
Yeah.
Then it became Hoagland Olds.
That's it. Hoagland.
But it was Powers. Powers.
That's it.
Bert Powers owned it.
Yeah.
And he had a salesman named Russ Hare. Russ Hare was his name. And Russ would come over and he'd look over the fence. He'd say, "Hey, Bill, because we got our dealer's license. We started a little body shop on San Christopher, up there. And my brother sold that to Pfeiffer. Pfeiffer.
Pfeiffer.
That was my brother. We
San
started that as a
Christopher,
detail shop, and we got Powers' body guy to run it because the city wouldn't give us a license for a body shop. So my father thought up the idea, why don't you call it a detail shop? You got to clean cars. So we clean cars. We put a Binks paint booth in. And, we put one of those pullers, with the puller?
Slide puller.
Yeah, in ground.
Frame puller.
My brother,
train machine.
Big
the
shop.
chains,
Brunson was downtown, Dick Brunson, and he
Bill,
was down.
Was it Bill Brunson?
Bill Brunson.
Yeah.
He was downtown, and me and my brother decided to get under the heavy duty towing, and I didn't want to go out at night. I don't want to be towing all night. We got AAA, and I had just got married. I had a baby. I said, I don't want to be out in the street at 2-3 in the morning, doing changing tires, and running wrecks. And so he says, well, we got on this. We got a wreck one night. We go to the police, and Day's body shop. And they were up in Palm Harbor, but they were on a side street, Georgia, up there. Yeah. And Days and Shorty had the mobile station at Dunedin Beach. Shorty's mobile, and he had an old record. We had a record. We had to have the split booms to be on the rotation, and we got a call,
split booms,
and it was a tow truck. I mean, there was two nice cars. There was two nice cars and junk. Three car accident. And the two nice, my brother says, now make sure you get the good car. We can make some, the insurance.
Yeah.
So I get there. I'm first one there. Sitting there looking at these two nice wrecks and the junk. So the trooper pulls up, and it's Lamar Day, who's Day's brother. He's a trooper.
Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. The rest of the story.
And then about 20 minutes later, Shorty pulls up, and I've been there 20 minutes now, and I want to tow one of these cars. Oh no, we can't move the cars yet. The people were gone. Just sitting there out in the middle of the night, 2 a.m. And so then next thing you know, Brunson pulls up, and then not Brunson, but Days pulls up, and Lamar says, the cop says, "That's yours." This is mine, the junker. I got the junk. So I pull the car down to the body shop. My brother said, "What's this? This car, we won't even get any, storage for this." So it sat there for months. We ended up scrapping the car, but we didn't get it was hard. It was because you were fighting for the for the wrecks. Eventually it worked out, but it was all Dunedin was such a little sleepy town at the time. I mean, you're talking 1975. That's a long time ago.
I used to repo cars. I'll use one name, James August. You remember him?
No.
Okay. Well, his dog bit me one time. I was working on his Cadillac, so I couldn't work on his cars. hey, can't make that up. And these guys, him and the guy they called Bob, they call him Animal. Okay. And he's sort of like the drummer on early Moody Blues.
Yeah.
Okay, if someone out there knows the reference. Anyway, so we go get stuff and repo the cars. These guys had no concept of law. And we go get the cars, and Bob would go, "Hey, we're getting your car!" real loud. So the people would come out, and, "Yeah, I'm getting your car here. What are you going to do about it?" I was like, "Hey, people had guns back then too,
I know. Yeah. We repoed a few for the bank in town there, but we only did a couple times because what would happen? They'd come up to the impound yard in the middle of the night, and they'd cut the lock.
Yeah,
and the car would be gone, and the gate would be open. And one time I think it was somebody worked for us, or burned one of our records because he got mad.
Whoa!
And he set it on fire. It was a '66 Chevy, like a 50 series, the gas job with the heavy, but that was the truck we used to get on the rotation. You had to have a heavy and a lighter duty. So this kid had worked for us, and he got mad about something, but we think he did it. But we went in there the next day. The cops called, and the truck was right over top of the gas tanks, and it had burned. He burned the cab of that truck. So my brother says, "We'll fix it." And we did. He got a new cab, not a new cab, but he went to a junkyard and found a cab, and we ended up rebuilding the truck. But the things back then, things seem simpler than they are today. But but I don't know how hard it is today because it's different. Things are different.
Well, the game is the same. It's just that
the rules are different. One time I
yeah.
repoed a car for a guy, I think Animal or James, either one. 67 Thunderbird. This is a while ago. The car is 10 years old and is a repo. Okay. Don't ask me why. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I walked up to the car with a screwdriver, popped the door open because the lock's right there, this far away from the glass, whatever. And so anyway, and then opened the hood and got the clip wires because the solenoid's on the firewall, ignition, then jumped it with the screwdriver, started it up, got in the car, and drove off. There's people watching us in the neighborhood in the middle of the day. We're just like we knew what we were doing, like, oh, yeah, pointing around. And I got a note off the windshield, and I'm looking at it, Yeah. Nowadays, he'd be videoed,
You'd be videoed, that's right. On that note, I think we're going to go to commercial break. We got to throw a song up there, and we're going to do a little shifter real quick. But, Bill, thanks for hanging in with us. Again, Only in America Minute, right? And Only in America is the name of the weekly radio show.
Yeah.
Bi-weekly radio show.
Thank you for having me in here. Nostalgic.
Nostalgic radio.
Nostalgic.
Nostalgic. Right. All right, Bill. Thank you. Take care.
Okay. Anyway.
So, see you, Bill.
Make sure you put it in the dryer.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But you got to put it in the dryer first.
Okay.
I'm going to move this over here so that
she knew he'd forget her, so they said goodnight. Oh, now he's gone forever. She wants to send him a letter. Yeah. I'm just trying to make myself feel better. It said, give me your thoughts sometime. But she knows what that'll get her.
Come enjoy the best brews in Tampa Bay at Dunedin Brewery. Known as Florida's oldest microbrewery, they are always working to create a unique variety of craft beers for every taste. In addition, Dunedin Brewery features a full menu, including everything from their famous wings, burgers, salads, flatbreads, and more. Don't forget about their live music, including the Wednesday Night Players Jam. That's Dunedin Brewery, 937 Douglas Avenue in downtown Dunedin. Visit them online at DunedinBrewery.com. Looking for car shows? Then look no further than FLACarshows.com. On your computer or on your mobile device, FLACarshows.com is a comprehensive list of automotive events, plus videos and news articles. Whether you're looking for car shows, cruise-ins, meetups, automotive festivals, cars and coffees, or anything else relating to an internal combustion engine, then this is a site for you. Check it out online or on your phone at FLACarshows.com.
Okay, you're back.
We're back, and
Yeah,
you're
never
tuning
mind.
into Nostalgic Radio and Cars. And was that a segue in there? Is there a race coming up in St. Petersburg this weekend or something like that?
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that. Okay.
But most importantly, we're a nice little tribute there to
Oh,
Eddie
yeah.
Van Halen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sadly, Eddie Van Halen passed away today. That's not a good thing.
He's only a year older than Robert.
Well, yeah, you're in 20 days.
Silence in the
Yeah,
studio.
right. Think
The
about
silence
that
is
for a second.
deafening.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
At any rate,
I
So-
didn't plan that part of the tribute.
no, but let's get on to happier things. I mean,
Yeah.
it's sad, and life is too short.
But the music lives on.
The music lives on,
Right.
and his talent. I mean, he truly was. I mean, if you really think about it, there's guys that were guitarists, and I'll reference guitar guys. When you think of Richie Blackmore, Eric Clapton, Jimmy Page, who's that other guy?
Steve
Jimi Hendrix.
Winwood. Steve Winwood.
Steve Winwood. He's not really. He doesn't rank up there as a.
Well, I don't know. Him and Clapton were on the stage together. Clapton would defer to him.
Well, when we talk to guys that were really, really, I mean, like guitar. The thing about Winwood was he was extremely talented as a writer.
Yeah.
He played piano. He played multi-instruments, but I'm talking about we're talking about guys that are strictly guitarists now. Dave Mason's another one, Mark Knopfler, but Eddie Van Halen, let's call him, he was kind of like the king of the shredders. He started that in the late 70s, and all the hair bands of the 80s all started doing, trying to emulate him and stuff. And he came up with some pretty wild stuff. But, he even in an interview one time, I listened to it, he said, I wasn't really that innovative or was necessarily a pioneer. All I did is just kind of perfect some of the techniques that were out there and put my own flavor to it. It's kind of like if you're a driver, you talk about race car drivers and we had, Dan Gurney on the show, obviously, and Bob Bondurant, probably
Right.
two of the most smoothest, fluid drivers, especially Dan Gurney. He pioneered a lot of techniques, and one of them I ended up adopting when I used to club race out of fear, and that was braking and gassing at the same time going into a turn. And that was a technique that he used. Well, I discovered it by accident. He probably discovered it by accident too.
Right.
Because the faster you go, it's kind of like if you go too deep into a turn. I can't explain it, but if you hit the brakes and the gas at the same time, it just kind of steadies the car out. I don't know. It just does something really weird to it. You have to be on the track and experience to know what's going on. But having said that, we had Parnella Jones on the show and Mario Andretti, and both those guys, I think, at one point said that had I been a little easier on the equipment, I probably would have won more races.
But speaking of easier on the equipment, when Phil Hill was racing for Ferrari,
there you go.
The mechanics loved him because he didn't abuse the car, but he still won.
See, that's the thing about the guys back in the day, the Dan Gurneys, the Mario Andretti's, the Phil Hills, the Bob Bondurants, the Roger Penske's of the world. All those guys wrenched. Okay, so just like you
They
said,
have a
to your
mechanical
point,
sympathy.
they have
Mechanical sympathy for the car.
okay, there you go. Mechanical
Thank you.
sympathy. That sounds good.
Yeah.
In other words, basically at that point in time, they know how, they respect their equipment. They want it to finish.
They know how it works.
And racing, if you have to understand racing is a game of attrition.
Right.
So basically, especially endurance racing, So if you go out there, I mean, a sprint, you go all out. But if you got a 3-4 hour race or a 24-hour race or a 12-hour race or a long endurance race, you want your equipment to last.
Right. The finish first, you must first finish.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And Bobby, there's a couple texts on you. You might want to respond to those real quick.
No, they're Facebook people. Say hi to Ken.
Hi, Ken. Hey, Ken. And some other friends. We got some listeners tuning in. And
see how I fixed that?
Our regular, yeah, you fixed that real good, and very good. And of course,
faster
Alan,
than typing back
Alan
to
hasn't
them.
been here in a while, but Alan actually came to bring me something that I loaned him
back in 1985.
in 1985, and naturally I don't have it in here with me, but it was a book. And the book was
I knew
titled,
that was a bad idea.
yeah, the book was titled "The Rich and the Super Rich."
Right, and Robert's subtitle was "The Greedy and the Super
The Greedy and the Super
I'm the
Greedy.
Rain Man. I remember when he said that to me in 1985.
Yes,
When
right.
I finally returned the book. I finished it because it's a thick book. Okay,
It's very thick.
so I had it for 35 years, but hey.
Well, anyway, so Alan said I'm going to stop by and just drop off the book, and then of course,
But he didn't know I had a book. I'd say I'm going to return something you loaned me back in
Yeah.
a long time ago.
But anyway, so him and Bill were standing out in the lobby, and they were just kind of like talking about old days, and I heard the name West Falls, and a couple of things come up, and I thought, well, you know, since we're kind of going in that direction a little bit, we our schedule got changed around a bit. We thought, you know what, let's have a factory. Listen to me, a old time party. Let's just have some guys in here, local guys, and we haven't done a local show in a long time, have we, Alan? Say what now?
Reel to reel.
What about the reel to reel?
I guess wanted to mention it, right? Yeah. Well, yeah, I bought a reel to reel from one of the guys that worked here, Bill.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because reel to reel is a tape player, right? We're going into the music a little bit because it says Nostalgic Radio.
Yeah, you know what? We even forgot our banner today. Boy, are we sleeping.
Yeah. But anyway, so
hey, that can happen.
that's analog, of course, and you get a reel to reel tape player, and you don't have any. If you buy a factory made reel to reel tape pre-recorded at the factory, you don't have to put up with the
buzzing.
Not the buzzing. No, what you have like when you got vinyl, because we're talking analog here. Okay, when you got vinyl, you got to put up with the discrepancies or the limitations of the vinyl. But the reel to reel tape, you don't. Especially you got 15 inches per second and 2-track on the whole tape. You get great sound. There you go. But anyway,
just out of curiosity, then. So back in the day, when let's say a lot of these recording artists actually recorded stuff, did they actually go in and record on vinyl in the studio, or were they first done on tape? They
well,
first
actually,
on tapes, weren't they? Because whenever you see the old movies and stuff like that, the guy sitting there behind a board, he's got his little board.
Well, initially though, when they made the 78s, the acetate records and stuff, they would have everyone would have all their microphones, every band member and everything. They'd be all set. They'd play through, check the mix, and then they go, and they'd actually cut the master while they're playing. They had no tapes. They'd cut the master record while they're playing. And if there's someone screwed up, they have to cut another master. Then they make the masters off of that and make the presses.
I see.
Yeah.
Now, were the masters done in vinyl, or
No. The master's like cutting the metal.
Oh, it was like cutting the metal.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know if we have enough time. We probably don't. But one of these days, because I never really understood how records were made. I mean, I'm looking at that thing, and I know we hear it say drop the needle in the groove.
Hey, how many grooves are in a record?
It varies, whether it's a long play, a short one.
No,
or
one groove is a continuous groove, Robert.
Oh, duh. I saw that coming. It's one groove that spins around. It's a concentric groove.
On that note, you need to.
I've known Robert since '76. I can do something bad every now and then like that.
I got stumped. I almost fell for that one. Yeah. I actually had that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for the pillow, Bill.
What? Is it almost that time, Tommy? 1 minute? Oh, my gosh. All right. So here we are, which is the beginning of October. So we're talking a little bit about music and stuff like that. But next week, we hope to have a very special guest on the show for you guys. And in the meantime, you are tuned into Nostalgic Radio Cars. Don't forget to check it out here every Tuesday between 7 and 8 p.m. on the Tan Talk Radio Network. Don't forget, check out nostalgicradio.com. No, nostalgicradiocars.com, where you can listen to all our past shows, including this show right here. Right now. Of course, this is real time. This is live. All right, there are car shows going on. In fact, today when we were buzzing down the road, we actually saw a whole bunch of British cars heading north. And the only reason we can think they were heading north is because there's some pretty cool roads up there.
Cricketers, maybe? Way up north.
Yeah, way up there, right? So at any rate, and then,
Stay safe, drive safe.
In the meantime, everybody, stay safe, drive carefully. No, stay safe, drive carefully, and love your family. That's it. Stay safe, drive carefully, and seriously, love your family.
Goodbye.
Hey.
Bring on through.
WTAN, Clearwater.
FM 106.1.
WDCF, Dade City.
FM 102.3.
WZHR, Zephyr Hills.
FM 104.3.
Listen.
This is CBS News on the Hour, your home for original reporting.
I'm Matt Pipe.